Okay, why is this not? Oh, okay. So it's scheduled, so it's not going. Okay. See how this goes. Thanks for joining. I'm just getting started. All right, there we go. I had to use my trick of firing up my own live, to watch my own live to make sure my sound was working. So that does work now. Now I need to find my little pop out and make sure I can pause any advertising they try to set on us here. Let's see. Delay ads. There we go. 10 minutes. All right, there we go. All right. Hey, be sure to drop a comment in the chat. Let me know who's here. Always helps to know who I'm talking to. Otherwise, it's kind of like talking to yourself. I think these lives, it could be a lot more fun if you could have members directly on camera asking questions. I think that'd actually be, oops, what did I just do? I just hit something on my computer. There we go. That would actually be kind of fun if I were to do that. Now, if the video is really bad, let me know, because when I'm looking at mine and I've got it set on HD, it's really choppy. So if it's really choppy, let me know. I'm actually uploading a video, which is supposed to be done in 5 minutes. And if there was a way to pause that, I would, but I haven't figured out a way to pause it. So be sure to let me know if I'm choppy. And if I am, hang in there. We're looking at just a few more minutes here before the internet clears up for upload speeds. It's telling me 85, 84%. And if I could pause it, and I might have to try to figure out how to do that, folks. So give me just a second to see. I don't want to cancel this upload because honestly, it's a huge upload of about a 50-minute video, probably the longest one I've ever done. So if it is a bit choppy, let me know. You might be getting kind of pixelated view right now. So if you do, drop a comment in the chat for me. But if you do see kind of a pixelated screen, bear with me for just a little bit as we get going, because I've got, according to this, 4 more minutes for a massive video upload. And if you haven't seen the last 3 videos on my channel, well, guess what? I've actually put them all together into one video, 4K. Just kind of removed a couple little things, tweaked them, and made them, just kind of improved it a little bit. But it's like a 45, 50-minute video. It's I've often talked about doing this with some of the videos that actually make more sense when they run together. So anyway, as I said before, always drop a comment in the chat. Let me know who's here and watching. And again, if it's kind of pixelated, bear with me just a few more minutes as we get going here. According to YouTube, my massive new upload is 3 minutes out, and that may be hindering my upload speeds on my live. So if it's looking really pixelated, that's why. But I usually wait till I get a few more folks on. So we're just after 5:30. So be sure to drop any questions you got now in the chat so that I I see them early, because if we really get going and it kind of gets hopping, it's hard to keep up, but I absolutely try to answer every question. So if you start asking them now early on, I won't answer them right away. Typically, I usually give a little bit of an update first, and then we'll get into the Q&A part. And usually it's just a few minutes before I do. But I like to give everybody a few minutes to join. I'll be honest with you, though. The funny thing is, we usually get talking a little bit for as much as half an hour before all of a sudden, you get a dozen more people come in. So we'll see how that goes. But again, if it's a bit choppy, I know I'm repeating myself, but as folks are popping in, I've got a huge upload going. It's 2 minutes left to go. It's at 94% now. And I think once that video finishes uploading, things will smooth out for you. If they're not smooth right now, it should be running HD, but if it looks like it's running 1990s internet style, it's my upload speeds. I don't get as good an upload speed as I really should be getting with what we pay for it. So anyway, all right. Well, we got a few of you here, and we are just a few minutes after 5:30, so we're going to get started here in just a minute here, a few seconds. Again, be sure to drop both your comments in the chat, but also tell me who I'm talking to. Maybe it's Bob in Florida and John in Kentucky. I don't know. The funny thing is YouTube doesn't tell me who's actually in my lives. I can see a number that kind of fluctuates back and forth, and it's kind of funny. YouTube, as I'm doing the live, might tell me that there's 4 people or 18 people, and then later when I look at the stats, it might have been 18 right from the start. So it's always nice to know who I'm talking to. So again, drop it in the chat, let me know who I'm talking to. Don't be shy. And of course, ask those questions. We got 10 seconds left for this video to be uploaded. So that should be done any second now, which should give you, there we go. We are uploaded, folks. That is awesome. All right, here we go. You should have better video now. Do me a favor. If the video is kind of choppy, let me know. In fact, I will go pull my own, I'll go pull my own live up right now just to kind of double check and see how it looks, because I can't tell any other way. And of course, it's going to give me a commercial. Oh, goodness. Hey, what's up, buddy? Not just you. I got others on here. They're just too shy. Oh, it was choppy. Okay, but is it now? That's the real question. Is it choppy now, or is it looking better finally? Oh, okay. It looks good to me on the one I just pulled up. So, and I am going to do some membership giveaways tonight. So, you know what? I might even start with that kind of early, and do one now and then maybe one a little bit later. So I will do that while I'm waiting for folks to introduce themselves and, to let me know who I'm talking to. And again, folks, I can't tell who's here until you tell me who's here. And the purpose of tonight's live, honestly, is primarily just to answer questions, folks. That's it. It's just to answer questions that you might have. And I'll give you some channel updates and all that kind of stuff too. So first of all, I'm going to give away 5 memberships right now. And hopefully somebody who comes on the lives gets them. I did find out, thanks to Dave here, or John over at Davidson's All Natural Gym, that the way YouTube does this is when you give away memberships, it randomly gives them away. So there are 12,000, I think 180 some odd out there, and it just picks 5 and says, here you go. So so if you got a membership and you're on here, hey, do me a favor, say hi, let me know. And if not, maybe next time you'll get one. And always let me know who's here and what questions you have. So might as well get going. I've been stalling long enough to get the video cleaned up. So you have to excuse me clearing my throat. I seem to have a frog in my throat tonight. It was a bit smoky today. It was kind of weird. I don't know if we had a fire nearby. I mean, I know it's been raining in the Northwest quite a bit lately. raining up north where my son is, where they had over 100 fires a month ago. And so that we've been getting lots of rain, and it's putting out the fires, and that's really good. And if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that this time of year, above all times of year, is the beginning of wildfire prep season. And I noticed that Michael Wilson commented on either on his channel, on one of his videos, or in replying to me, I think on one of mine perhaps, but he commented that their fire season just started. And for me, usually it's not really a big deal until mid-July. About mid-July is when fire season starts for me. And it lasts, well, frankly, till the snow flies. So, all right, let's see. Anybody else? Oh, hey, Michael, there you are. Good to see you, buddy. Hey, did you notice that I put that link on my website? I dropped a link in the community tab on my YouTube page. And the link is to Manly Portable Milling, and it's at the bottom of the tools I use page. There should be a link right at the bottom. If you click that, you will get that solar calculator spreadsheet. And that is not my personal spreadsheet. I didn't create it. I actually got it from another gentleman on Country Plans Forum. And if anybody's into cabin building, off-grid, even solar power stuff, folks, that forum is very quiet today, but there are still folks that, like me, that pop in and say hi, and I post my videos there and try to answer questions if I can. But there's a ton of information specifically in the off-grid power group there, or thread, really. And it's a forum. It's not like Facebook, whatever. It's I almost said something that I probably shouldn't have, right? But Mr. Zuckerbucks would come after me. But you know, there's just so much information there on off-grid power stuff. It's older stuff, though. It's not the modern kind of stuff. Modern stuff is changing so fast. It's like the computer world, you know, about 20 years ago, where every time you turned around, there was a faster processor and a bigger hard drive and a better graphics card. And now it seems that way. I just got a battery from a company that makes a 100 amp hour 12 volt battery, just like the one I tested with my refrigerator, only it's almost half the size of that battery. And I went, you've got to be kidding me. How did you do that? It's got a BMS and everything. And that's battery management system. And I mean, it should be a decent quality battery, all the same capacity, everything else, but half the size almost. And, you know, if you're building an off-grid system, or like me, where you might have a little power station that you want to boost for, you know, like a guest cabin at your off-grid location, having a little battery like that with carrying handles built into it, kind of nice. And if you're running 2 or 3 or 4 of them or whatever, I mean, it's a lot nicer to carry one of those, you know, 10 or 15 pound batteries than big lead 80-pound batteries around. So look like you missed the membership again. Yeah, you know, I'm hoping that YouTube comes out with a way for us to grant membership directly to people that we want to give it to instead of randomly. But I do have 5 more to give, so I'll probably do that tonight. I said I probably would in a little while. But you know, they don't do that yet. So it's totally random. But of course, you know, if you want to support the channel, it's like buying me a cup of coffee a month. So, but this isn't a commercial on doing that. Also, my new shirts are, I finally tweaked my shirts a little bit. And if you ever see in my videos where there's a link to shop, if you see the orange shirt, that's the one I'm wearing now. There is nothing on the back. I stopped putting it on the back of some of these shirts, probably stop on all of them. I'm not sure, but I did change it to, you know, it's funny when you're looking at yourself in the it's almost like looking in the mirror, but I did change it. I also moved this over this way and down a little bit in the current version that's out, because I decided this was a little bit too high, but those shirts are out there. So, but okay, so what the heck is going on, right? I mean, I am working on a couple things. One, I just put together my last 3 videos and combined them into one 45-50-minute video. And I've been trying to do that for a very, very long time, because I think that's a fun way for those that just want to sit down and watch for 45 minutes, they want to watch a video. I've actually been asked to do it before. It's been suggested that I do it before. And so I finally did that. And that was uploading right at the beginning of this live tonight. And that's why I was kind of choppy at the start. So that will go live tonight. So that's kind of a freebie. If you haven't seen my last few videos, that one will go live tonight, and it will go live as soon as it renders in 4K, or not renders, but processes in 4K. So YouTube, when you put out a brand new video, what it does is excuse me, it goes through a checking procedure to check and make sure there's no copyright stuff or whatever. And this video has been undergoing checking for about 10 minutes, and it's not quite halfway through. At the end of that check, it will release the video in SD, and then it will process it into HD, and then finally into 4K if you render your video in 4K, which this one is. So that can take an hour and a half to 2 hours on a regular video. I'm expecting this could take at least a couple hours. But if it does, I'm going to release it tonight. One way or another, I'll release it tonight. So if it's too late for the East Coast folks or someone else around the world, then they'll be able to look at it, watch it in the morning. Us West Coast folks, if you really want to, and actually it's really fun because I think the first two parts of this video, which were the first two of the last three, if you didn't see them, don't go see them. You can watch it all in one video now. But I actually really enjoyed that. And one of those, the first one, I actually edited live for members. And I know some of the members have seen it. And I know John watched it quite a bit. He was with me, I think, the entire time. And I think there was about 7 or 8 views on that. So some of those new can't talk tonight. Some of those new members watched that. And it was a lot of fun. And I will do that again for anybody interested in that. If you want to be a part of my editing videos and you want to hang out with me while I work on editing, then by all means, I'll do that for members. And it might be something, John, I might have to do that once a month or something, or maybe once a week. I don't know, because I do it during the day. It's a different time because I edit normally from about 4:30 a.m. until usually about 9:30. And then I go and I usually walk about 4.25 miles. And then when I get back, have lunch, then I start to edit again if I still need to for another hour or two. So usually if I'm going to do a members live, I'll do it at around that time, which is around noon Pacific time. Now, another video I'm working on, which is another huge video, but I'm working very hard to squish it down a little bit. Although one of my subs recently told me, just leave it. And it was at 48 minutes at that point, I think. And I told him, no, I can't do that to you. I got to cut it down. So that one of you asked me if I would do a video on batteries. And so I did. And it was really quite fun. Now, this is not your typical battery video. I think this video will help people decide what to do, especially if you're like me and you're just working class. You know, you got to go out there and make a buck like everybody else, and you ain't got Bill Gates's pocketbook. Well, this video will be for you. So if you're into the off-grid power stuff, it's my video. I mean, let me rephrase it. Of course, it's my video. It's my opinion, my views on batteries and what's worth getting and not. And I think that when I give you my perspective, it probably will not be one you've ever heard. So I think you're going to want to watch that one. But I am trying to cut it down. I think I'm at 39 minutes now. I'm hoping to get it down to about half an hour, but it's tough because of the topics that I'm covering. You'll see when you watch the video, because the topics I'm covering, it's kind of hard to really give you that battery video and do it in 16 or 24 minutes. So let's see. Oh gosh, where are we at here? Oh, doing pretty good. Okay, so we've got the big video going out tonight. For those that haven't seen the last 3, or if you just want to watch them all together, it'll be 4K, 50 minutes long. And I think you'll enjoy it. It's all at the cabin, working at the cabin. And then member lives, I think we'll be doing some more of those, especially with now we have the ability to give memberships away. So I'll definitely be doing that. And John, you're awfully quiet. If you want to see some of those member lives where I'm actually editing a video in DaVinci Resolve and how I do it, drop a comment in the chat. Let me know. And if you catch me keeping looking over like this, it's because I'm looking at the chat in case you're saying something. I got to look over there. But and then the big battery videos coming out. Now I also have some other stuff that I'm working on. I mentioned earlier that I've got this tiny little battery that's a 100 amp hour battery, but it's just this little battery to try out. I actually think that's going to be a game changer in small off-grid cabin systems, because you could get 2 or 4 of those and it'd be easy to haul them around, easy to get them somewhere to set them up. They would take up very little space. So tiny homes, that kind of stuff, it's going to be awesome. And no, my channel is not all about solar power. It's an off-grid channel and sawmilling channel. So don't, if you got some sawmilling questions, like you want to know about the whole debate over 90 and 180, here's your opportunity to ask away, folks. I will answer whatever you ask, and no bourbon tonight either. So much to my dismay. But get old, body doesn't agree with things, you got to quit doing them. But anyway, so and the reason I mentioned the bourbon is because usually somebody wants to know what bourbon I'm drinking. I don't think I've had more than 6 drinks in 6 months, so not drinking any right now. Water and flat Coke, and that's a whole nother story. So all right, what else we got? I'm working on a cool overland canoe trailer. So those of you that follow me on Facebook, not just the Old Jarhead page, but my personal page, which if you can't find me because it's pretty well locked down, if you go to the Old Jarhead page, you'll find me there, and you can shoot me a message, and I can friend you on Facebook if you want. But if you're curious, another project I'm working on, which will probably get debuted over on the Jeep channel that I have, which is a bit smaller, is an off-road overland canoe trailer. And I know that probably sounds crazy. You're thinking, what the heck is that? But the idea is that I'm building a canoe trailer that I can tow behind my Jeep, and that will go anywhere my Jeep will go. And my Jeep's pretty well built, but it'll also be able to haul a trolley motor, battery, all that kind of stuff under the canoe, which I could not do before, right? If I wanted to take my canoe somewhere, I had this little kayak trailer that I got from my daughter, one of my daughters, and it had these tiny little wheels, and it dragged the canoe on the ground. It was just terrible. So I really couldn't drag it around. And I love to get out in the woods, folks. So I do all kinds of things. Somebody said to me one day, their hobby was Jeeps, and that's all they did. And then she said, Eric, your hobby is having hobbies, because you just have them all. And it's true. So anyway, that's kind of a bit of an update. As for last channel update I can give you, I've been contemplating, I've shifted to 2 videos a week. So I'm interested in your feedback, if that works for you. If you're missing that 3rd video during the week, I'd like to know that. But one of the reasons I've done this is in part because it gives me the option to throw another video out when I can midweek. And the other reason is it allows me to spend more time editing each video. So one of the challenges that I had over the last 9-10 months, about 10 months, trying to do 3 videos a week, was that I wasn't able to spend as much time editing the video as I really felt I needed to give you a better video. So that's why I'm doing 2 a week right now. I don't have plans to change that. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm dropping a video tonight, which is off cycle. So, and it's a combination of other videos that I've already put out, the last 3, in fact. So if you haven't seen the last 3, don't go watch one yet. You might as well just watch them all in one video. All right. So now that we are 20 minutes in, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the live and give out 5 more memberships and see if we can get some more of you some memberships. So, Michael, are you ready? Let's see if we can make it happen. There they go. Done deal. And let's see what happened. Nope. I tried, Michael. but it didn't work. It's almost like it's like the lottery. You have a 1 in 1,218 chances. So I don't think I'd recommend you go play the lottery tonight, Michael. I'm sorry, bud. You're gonna have to wait till July now, or buy me a cup of coffee and grab one. But I will tell you that I think the editing stuff for those that are trying to do YouTube might find that interesting. And by the way, folks, during these Q&As, I will answer any question about YouTube too. So if you got YouTube questions, off-grid, solar power systems, sawmilling, cabin building, whatever, go ahead and ask away. And if I don't get questions, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start telling you stories. In fact, I had one that I was thinking about tonight that, and I, these are all actual things that happen. I was telling this to somebody else just within the last few days. Actually, come to think of it, I think it was yesterday. So Michael has some bear stories. He's got some videos on bears, and I've talked about some. I think on one of my lives, I probably told you guys about the bear that came charging up to the cabin. Well, I'll tell you that one right now, just in case you weren't here. So last year, I was at the cabin working hard. It was really dry and dusty. And I had said, that's it. I got to go have a shower. So I, took my belt off, threw my pistol on the, on the bench or table or whatever, took my shirt off. And then I went, oh yeah, I got to go out and I got to, turn the hot water heater down or up or something like that. And so I just took off and went around the cabin to the back room. No camera, no sidearm. Reach down to pull apart the entrance into that back room so I can get in there. And I just caught movement to my left, and there was a bear charging up the path right behind the big propane tank. If you've watched my videos and you've seen that big tank, he wasn't 20 feet from that propane tank, just charging up the hill at me. So I just yelled at him, hey, get out of here. And waved my arms and whatever. And he turned and took off down the hill and took off. Well, then I started yelling for my wife, like, hey, Darsh, did you hear that or whatever? And nothing, dead silence. So I went, okay. So I went ahead, got in the back room, changed the hot water heater, put it all back together, went into the cabin. And I said, you didn't hear me yelling? And she said, no, I didn't hear anything. And I thought, oh, great. So the cabin insulation is so good that if I'm out here getting mauled by a bear because I didn't bother bringing my sidearm, and if I'd have had my camera, I'd have had that 1,000,000 view video too, right? But no camera, no sidearm, and my wife couldn't hear me. So not cool. But anyways, with your luck tonight, I'm glad I don't have a lightning storm. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you don't need a lightning storm. Rain, yes. Lightning, no. If you're going to get lightning, then you want the rain first. But, and again, folks, whatever questions you got, throw them in the chat and let me know who I'm talking to. Drop a comment down there. I know John from Davidson's All Natural Gym is there. And I saw Michael Wilson is here from Wilson's Forest Lands. But that's all I know who I'm talking to. And there's a few of you out there. So say hi. Let me know who I'm talking to. But since I don't have any questions yet, I was going to tell you this other story. So that's not the bear story I was going to tell you. When I was about, between 11 and 13, I lived in a town called Ocean Falls, British Columbia. And Ocean Falls is basically a ghost town now. It has like 25 permanent residents, and it had 1,000 when I lived there. In fact, we used to say the population was 999 and 1,000 black bears. But and at one time, Ocean Falls had about 5,000 residents. And there's no way to get to Ocean Falls on the ground unless you like to walk a lot for a long time over mountains. So the only way to get there is by seaplane or by boat. And the nearest town is Bella Bella, which is on an island. I think it's about an hour out of Ocean Falls, maybe longer. And then Bella Coola, which I want to say is about 2.5 hours. So you're literally in the absolute middle of nowhere on the coast of British Columbia. And it's about 360 some odd miles north of Vancouver, British Columbia. So north of the US-Canadian border, about 380 miles from the border. So you're literally in the middle of nowhere. There's not another town around. There's no other civilization. There's nobody to go to. It's just this one little town in the middle of all these mountains and forests and inlets, on the coast of British Columbia. And I was there when I between 11 and 13. So 3 years. And there was this girl that I had a crush on when I was like, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. And again, I'm just telling this story because I'm waiting for your questions, folks. But anyway, so, figure 12, almost 13-year-old boy got a crush on a girl. He's not really going to be very smart, right? So we're in Ocean Falls. And in Ocean Falls, the town proper itself, it had no paved roads. It had a very, very short section of concrete, I think probably maybe a block's worth. And I think maybe 2 sections of concrete. And then there was a paved road that left town and went a mile out to the valley. And that road was literally built on the edge of a hill. So the mountain came down to the ocean, and they built a road right above the ocean on the side of that mountain. And on the edge of town, and by the way, the roads in town were all made of wood plank. So if you think I'm crazy and you don't believe me, look up Ocean Falls. Just get on Google or whatever you use and look up Ocean Falls, British Columbia. It'll blow your mind. Literally wood plank roads. So here I am. I'm 12 and a half, whatever, almost 13 years old. That's a long time ago, by the way. Yeah, we're talking in the 70s, mid 70s. But and I've got this girl that I got a crush on, and I got my 2 buddies with me, Cooper Campbell and Dennis Campbell. And and both of those guys, I think today, live in Bella Bella still. I used to keep in contact with Dennis and Cooper for a while. But anyway, we decided there's a place where the edge of town, the paved road heads out along the Chuck, or the ocean. We called it the Chuck. And the mountain comes down to it, but there was a dirt road from where there were some apartments at one time. They were all gone in a big slide, but there was a dirt road that went down to the paved road, and between it, there was a lot of bushes there. So we decided it'd be a really good idea. It would really impress her if we went up there and shook a bunch of bushes and made some noise and made her think that there was a bear there, and it would scare her. Because I guess, when you're 12 years old, you think scaring a girl is the way to get her attention, right? So we go up there and we get set, and it's this narrow little, it's not even probably 8 feet wide, just maybe 6.5, 7 feet wide, barely wide enough for a car to drive down, dirt track with bushes on both sides. And of course, it's right on the edge of this mountain. So you got bushes and then big conifers going up the mountain. And on the bottom, it's probably maybe, in my mind, I'm thinking 25 yards, but probably more like 25 feet to the road, right? Because that's what happens as you get older. All those places that you thought were really big, you go back to them and you're like, wait, how is this place so tiny today, right? And if you've never done that, trust me, I just went on Memorial Weekend. We went to where I went to school in Kelowna, British Columbia. And I thought, there's no way this is the school. I remember the school being 4 times this size. So anyway, we're probably 25 yards above the road, bunch of bushes between us, and we're waiting for her. And she's walking. We ran ahead. We knew she was heading out that way. So she's walking home, and she's walking, and we're watching her walk, and she's getting closer, but she's not close enough to scare yet. So we're all kind of crouched down behind these bushes, and we all tell each other, okay, be quiet, right? Shh, don't say anything. And then I hear some rocks moving. And so I tell Cooper Campbell to my left, I'm like, hey, Cooper, knock it off. And he's like, I'm not doing anything. So, Dennis, knock it off. No, I'm not doing anything. And so we start arguing back and forth about who's doing what. But yet there's rocks still moving, right? I'm sure you can see where this is going. So I turn around to figure out who's obviously standing behind us on the road. And there's a bear sitting on the road right across from us. Like he's on the other edge of the road, out of the bushes, but right on the road, staring at the 3 of us, probably trying to figure out what the hell we're doing. And he's just moving, he's kind of moving his paws in the rocks. Well, let me tell you, we all jumped up screaming and took off down the road. And the funniest part of this story is the bear took off running with us. And he wasn't chasing us because I think he passed me halfway down the hill. It's so you can only imagine you've got these three teenage boys, barely teenage boys, trying to scare this girl, running down the road, screaming with a black bear amidst them, running down there with them. I later said, I wonder if the bear was trying to figure out what we were scared of. Fortunately, a guy with a truck came along. The bear ran off into the trees, and it was Danette was her name, Danette Roos, and she gave us a hard time for being such jerks. And we got in the truck and got a ride out of there, and it didn't impress her, by the way. So I wouldn't recommend trying that in the future if you ever thought about that as a way to impress the woman of your dreams. Oh, good Lord. I can't believe that y'all stuck around for that story, and I still don't have any questions. So what questions have you got? Sawmill questions, band questions, off-grid questions, cabin building questions. I'm not going to, if you ask me how to fall a tree, I'm going to tell you to talk to Michael Wilson. And I will tell you, though, that one of the 2 videos I'm currently working on to get out this coming week, so one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, I think it's the Thursday video, is a video where I'm thinning some trees. And I'll give you guys a little heads up. So you're going to get a little insider information on Thursday's video. But I do mention that I learned something from Michael on his channel. And that is, if you don't turn your camera on when you fall a tree, well, then there's no evidence that you screwed up when you fell the tree. That's I learned that one from Michael. And then I actually followed a tree. And despite actually butchering it, because I'm not a faller, guys. I mean, I even say in the video, if you're coming to watch me to learn how to fall trees, you came to the wrong channel. I can make trees fall down. Whether or not I make them fall down in the right direction is sometimes questionable. But I will tell you that I kind of have a rule. I don't fall trees around anything I'm not willing to crush. And if I'm around something I'm not willing to crush, then I'm going to put a rope on it with a block and tackle and hook it to my tractor and give it a little bit of a tug, just a bare tug, a little bit, enough pressure that it'll go in the direction of the block with the tractor 90 degrees and far enough away it won't get hit. That's worked very, very well for me several times. I do find, though, it kind of requires 2 people to do well. So, I don't fall trees on my channel to teach anybody how to do it. I'll guarantee that. In fact, I will tell you this: if you want to know how to not fall trees, then you should probably watch my videos. And as far as luck goes, Michael, yeah, I'm the one with the crushed $1,200 Husqvarna saw that I crushed about 3 years ago. So that's called reading a tree wrong and being a very expensive lesson. All right. Well, what do we got here, folks? First of all, once again, if you haven't said hi to me and let me know where you're at, do so in the chat, please, so I know who I'm talking to, and absolutely get some questions out there. If I can't answer them, if it has to do with fallen trees or forestry, then Michael Wilson happens to be on with us. If it's about LT35s, then John Davis is out there, or Davidson is out there, although I haven't seen him say anything recently. So John must have fallen asleep. He's back east, so it's possible that he passed out, and maybe he's snoring on his computer right there. Oh, he was able to type an E, so I guess that means he's still there somewhere. But he's obviously too asleep still. He's waking up, but he couldn't type whatever it was he meant to type, so he only actually typed the E. All right. What other questions have we got? I will tell you while I'm waiting for questions, because that's the whole point. That's why I do these lives, folks. I only do them, honestly, to answer questions that you've got, because from my perspective, it's just kind of a fun way to communicate with you. And I don't always have a topic I want to talk about. Honestly, I rarely do. I will tell you that it's going to be an interesting summer. We've had a lot of rain, but also I've got some other things going on that are making it challenging to get back up to the cabin as often as I normally do. So I may actually be up there despite that. Well, this coming week, I may go up for a couple days. And then Father's Day weekend, I'm going up. Excuse me. But one of the things I intend to do Father's Day weekend is go fishing. So one of the things, I'm basically retired. YouTube's a full-time job, but because I do it for myself, I can go do other things if I want. And I've been working on this canoe trailer. And once I get it done, I'll be able to haul my canoe with the motor and everything. And yes, you're probably thinking, motor? It's a canoe. What do you need a motor for? Well, the truth is, folks, I'm a busted up old jarhead. I've mentioned it occasionally. I mention things in my videos, but I've had trouble with my arms for over 30 years since I left the Gulf, and recently had to have a tendon or a ligament shot up with steroids twice, and I think I need a third one because I don't think it fully grew back on the bone. It was about 80 or 90% off the bone. So paddling a canoe is quite painful. So I'm now going to be using a little electric trolling motor. But I'm really looking forward to getting back out there and catching some rainbows and some cutthroats, because that's what I love to do. And I just haven't been doing it enough. Honestly, every year I get a license and I might go out once, maybe go out with the grands or something. And I've decided life is too short. I need to go out and do a little fishing. So I am going to be taking some breaks when I go to the cabin, because I go there at least twice a month. But I also, a big project this year you might want to hear about. I've got a big one here. So first of all, I saw that John is awake now. How many hours do you have on the sawmill? 700 hours on this sawmill. It's my second sawmill. So the other sawmill didn't have an hour meter, but I had that one for 5 years and I ran it quite a bit. So, 700 on this one. Michael, you ran over your $1,200 steel with the tractor a couple years ago. Okay, look, if you fall a tree on your steel, that's because the wind blew the tree in the wrong direction. But if you drive over a $1,200 saw, you were trying to strength test the saw. That's what it was. And I bet you wish you had a camera and you were doing YouTube back then too, right? It would have been great. Have I ever replaced the spark arrestor? Spark arrestor on my sawmill? I don't have a spark arrestor. I have a muffler. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I've done the O2 sensor, but I haven't done I don't have a spark arrestor. Not on my sawmill. Okay, so while I keep asking those questions, because I will answer them, but one of the projects I have going this year that I think you're going to enjoy is I am finally going to start building. So I have been milling D logs for 3 years, and work, sawmill jobs, life got in the way of me getting all the logs I needed milled done. And I finally came to the point that I realized I need to get a sawmill shed built. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a bedroom cabin out of D-logs. It'll be a D-log cabin, 10 by 12, I think. It'll be on skids, so that it is a non-permanent movable building, which means non-permitted. And it will initially be the sawmill tool shed or general tool shed, workshop, whatever. But since it'll be built out of D logs, it'll be a log cabin. And at some point, it will get converted to a bedroom cabin. And I'm actually thinking that once it's done, I may build a lean-to off the side and fully enclose the lean-to and put all the tools out there instead. So that's going to happen. I just ordered 750 log screws, because you got to put them every 2 feet. So I've got a ton of log screws. I've got to pick up some sill plate material. I need lots of it because I'm going to lay sill plate between every layer of logs. And I've got to pick up a couple other things, but that project will be starting soon. So not only will I be sawmilling more, especially because I'm going to do it out of 5-inch D logs, partly because when you mill small logs into D logs, they tend to move a lot. And in small logs, they don't generally make great lumber. That's my experience, right? I've gotten great lumber out of small logs, but the percentage of lumber that ain't as great seems to be higher. I get better lumber out of 18-inch logs than I do 8-inch logs. And I think a lot of it is just stress. But when milling D logs, I've noticed that, you can't take the stress out when you're milling them because you're not cutting them enough, right? Like, and I think this is the reason, right? If I'm cutting bigger logs, I can mitigate stress. I can not only mill for the stress, but I can mitigate the stress while I'm milling. But when you're taking a log and you're taking 3 cap cuts off of it and taking it off the deck, there ain't no relieving any stress. And sometimes those logs twist a little bit or start to bow a bit. And I found that if I mill them at 6 inches, and I think I've mentioned this in past videos, then I can zip them down to 5.5 or 5 inches and they'll be nice and straight. Screw them all together and it'll work fine. So that's the plan. And as much as I hate doing it for the big logs that are still perfectly flat and straight, which a lot of them are, I just don't have enough to leave those aside and actually complete this project. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to zip them down to 5 inches and put them all together and try to get that cabin built and have it dried in before the end of summer. So that's a big project going on this year. On the end of the muffler, no spark arrestor. Honestly, no, I don't think so. If there is, it's the pipe on the end of the muffler is about 3 inches long, and there's nothing in that pipe, but it does have a screw on the end of it. And then if I remember correctly, it probably is a spark arrestor. I just forgot about it, but you can't like just stick a piece of, like a screwdriver or something right into the muffler. I think it's got like a baffle right there. I just figured it was a baffle, but you're probably right. That's probably what it is. And no, I've never replaced it. If it started giving me a hard time, I'd probably take a big drill and run it out, because I'm not worried about sparks coming out of my sawmill where I'm at. It's surrounded by dirt for primarily, right? So, all right. How small is that small battery? What are the advantages of LifePo 4s? So that small battery is, I can tell you exactly how small it is. How about that? Let me pull it up because I actually have to pull my email up, but that's okay. I can pull it up here real quick. Let me find the original deal on that guy. In fact, I can drop a link to it in here for you as soon as I get it here, folks. This battery is pretty cool. And it is, let me see if I get the dimensions on this guy, because it is small. I mean, it is really small. Come on. Where's my dimensions, folks? It weighs 20 pounds, so it's not as light as I thought it was, but that's okay. I'm looking for the size here. Come on here. It's got a 10-year really plus lifespan. Come on. 5,000 cycles at 5,000 plus is what they rate it, but 5,000 at 100%. I think they say 15,000 max. I mean, I think it lasts for damn near forever, folks. Let's see. Come on. Where's my size? I may have to look that up for you, Michael. I'm going to give you a link to this guy, but it's approximately 8 inches wide by 9 inches tall by about 9 inches long. The picture, it's sitting next to what would be considered a group 32, though it fits in a group 27 box. And this battery it's a few inches shorter than that battery. So, I mean, it's like the battery you might put in a Honda Civic. Very small. Let me give you this link here, and you can go check it out. Let me get back to the live stream here. Here we go. Now, the advantages of LifePo 4. So let's talk about that. I'm going to give you a heads up into my new video, by the way. So the few of you that watch this are going to get the heads up into the video that's coming out Tuesday. First of all, LifePo 4s, the advantages to them are that you can discharge them 100% without causing damage to the battery. So number one, you can discharge them 100%. You should not do that on a lead acid or AGM type deep cycle battery. I can't even speak tonight. So like typically lead acid or AGM batteries, you can do 50%, you can even maybe do 80%, but you really don't want to do that. And my personal experience with lead acid is that 10 to 20% is the sweet spot. And honestly, in telecommunications, we would run deep cycle batteries for years and never discharge them at all, just float charge them constantly. And then when the power goes down, those batteries are going to hold our big switches for as long as need be. And then we charge them back up and away you go. But the thing about lead is that if you discharge your lead battery all the way, you cut the cycle life in half. Now, the way you have to understand cycle life is it's generally based on something specific. So for example, a manufacturer will say at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, if you discharge the battery 50%, then you will get 1,200 life cycles. Like on a lead acid battery, it might be 1,200 life cycles. So you're talking, basically 3 years. And however, what they don't typically tell you is that at 0 degrees, it loses half of its capacity. So if you have a lead acid battery with 100 amp hour capacity, which is 1,200, typically 1,200 plus watt hours, then at 0 degrees Fahrenheit, it's half that. Its reserve capacity is half that. So if you use 50 amp hours overnight and you have a 100 amp hour battery, you're using 50 amp hours out of that battery every night. It can do that 1,200 times before it completely degrades and won't hold more than 80% total. But if it's 0 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature of the battery, and you use 50 amp hours, you just drained the battery and you took your 1,200 cycles and ran them to 600. That's lead acid, and AGM is basically the same. They're a little different, but LifePo 4s, you could drain them 100% over and over and over again, thousands of times. And in this case, this battery, they rate the battery 5,000 times. You drain it all the way 100% and charge it back up 5,000 times. That's insane. What they don't often tell you is that if you only drain it between 30 and 70%, you can get 15,000 life cycles. So if you want to do that math, folks, that's a long time. Now, will it really last over 30 years? Maybe, or maybe it'll degrade in other ways and not last that long anyway. So they're never going to tell you it's going to last that long, but it has the potential to last that long. LifePo 4s are a lot lighter. So this little 100 amp hour battery is 20 pounds. My 220 amp hour 6 volt lead acid batteries weighed, I don't know, maybe 80 pounds, right? 60 to 80 pounds, but they seemed like 80 to me. I think they were probably 60. I'm just getting old. But a 200 amp hour, and these are 12 volts. So even a 100 amp hour 12 volt battery, it's probably going to weigh 80 pounds. So these are 4 times lighter than your lead acid batteries. So those are big advantages. Now, these also have battery management systems built into them, so that as you are draining that battery or as you are charging that battery, there's a computer in the battery itself monitoring that. And if the temperature gets too cold or too hot, it will stop you from charging or discharging the battery to protect the battery. Or if you try to overcharge the battery or over discharge the battery, that battery management system will stop you from doing that to protect the battery. So when I ran my battery test on the last battery, that Golden Mate battery, which I think it's a great battery, and trust me, for the price of those batteries, I don't know you could beat that. That BMS shut the battery down before I destroyed the battery, because I left that battery running solid on that refrigerator for 5 full days, and it finally drained it all the way down, and the BMS kicked it off And I think it might have been at 95% when it kicked it off. And that's kind of, so they tell you can drain them 100%. Well, the truth is, folks, with a BMS, you really can't, because it's going to protect the battery. It's going to try to prevent that, cut you off somewhere around 95. It might let you get 100, might stop you at 90. That's the way the BMS is built. And it's just there to protect the battery. But LifePo has some disadvantages. One of them is don't get them cold and don't get them hot. Right? So LifePo 4 batteries don't charge below 32 degrees. Now, that is the temperature of the battery, by the way, not ambient air temperature. So a lot of times when you hear that, you're like, oh, well, okay, I can't charge my battery up because it's 32 degrees out. But the truth is your battery might be 40 degrees, even though it's 32 out, especially if you're using the battery. If you're using, so discharging the battery and then charging the battery, that will heat up the cells and keep the battery warmer. But at around -4 degrees, you start seriously risking damage. And you get down around -20, 30, 40 degrees, you stand a very high chance of damage. And it's not necessarily the lithium itself that's going to cause damage. It's the actual structure of the battery itself, the physical components, the metals, the fiber, whatever they're using, can also have a problem, and cases can crack and all that kind of stuff. So not good. Now, if you have the absolute most expensive, best batteries you can buy, I mean, obviously Teslas were running around Chicago when it was minus whatever out, but they also couldn't charge until they got warmed up. And then even sitting overnight on a a charger all night long, they lost power because they needed more power to keep them warm so the batteries could absorb charge to begin with. That also happens in an over temp situation. And I don't remember what the upper temperature is, but it's probably 120 or something like that. And if you're watching right now and you know battery temperatures for LifePo 4s, drop it in the chat, folks. But at a certain upper temperature, it's too hot for them. They rate LifePo 4s typically at 59 degrees Fahrenheit. So if they tell you that you have 100 amp hours of battery reserve, it's at 59 degrees Fahrenheit. And if they're telling you you've got 5,000 life cycles, it's at 59 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's also something to consider. So LifePos, awesome, small, great batteries. You can have a smaller battery bank, but actually have more capacity. But you can't get them cold. You certainly don't want them to get wet, because lithium and water do not mix well. They go boom. There's an old survivalist thing, right? If you're stuck out in the woods and you don't have a way to start a fire and you need to keep warm and you can't get any cell coverage, pull the battery out of your cell phone and break it into burnable stuff. And I think you might even have to get it wet. I don't remember. It might just be oxygen and lithium. I'd have to look it up. But I do know you can use your cell phone to start a fire. So there are some hazards there. On the other hand, lead acid batteries, you can't take a lead acid battery and put it inside your living quarters and expect to charge that up regularly with solar panels or anything else. Because a lead acid battery, if you put in a 24 volt bank at 28 volts, it vents hydrogen gas. A 12 volt battery at 14 volts vents hydrogen gas. I mean, if you had a high school science class, you know what happens when hydrogen and a spark get together. They go boom. So if you want to blow your cabin up, put your lead acid batteries inside, charge them up, and light the wood stove. So in that case, you got to deal with that, right? And at -40, lead acid batteries start to have an issue. And we used to put heaters under them, heating pads under them in areas that you could get -40, and that wouldn't work in a remote cabin very well. But they're not going to die. They're just not going to perform very well at -40. So if it's -40 out and your batteries are in an insulated porch with a pop can solar heater, guess what? They're not going to be -40. They're probably going to be about -25, maybe -30. And if you crank up your wood stove and your backup stove and get your cabin nice and toasty warm, they'll warm up even more and they'll be fine. Which you can't do that with LifePos. Now, that little battery, an advantage to that. So for Michael, in your case, I know you were looking at power supplies. I mean, you could decide to heck with it. I'm not going to mess with building a off-grid solar power system. I just want to haul one with me. There are advantages to that, right? So I'm into Jeep camping, is overlanding, right? Where you take your Jeep and you drive down some crazy road and a road that is something you're not going to drive your little Subaru on. And then you camp with your rooftop tent or whatever. And you want to have some power, right? Well, you run your little refrigerator or whatever. Those little power stations are great for that, but they can also be great for cabins if you want to haul them in and out, right? I would never put one in a cabin permanently because that's a waste of money, because you can build a system way cheaper. I actually was texting with Michael, so for those that are interested, last week, I believe, Michael, and kind of texting him some links to stuff and showing him how you can really build a small off-grid system dirt cheap. Frankly, it's pretty inexpensive. But if you're like me and you've already got two small power stations like the Jackery 500 or 550 or a Go Neo or a Blue Eddy or whoever, whatever, Eco Flow or whatever they're called, you can take one of these batteries and hook it up to that and make it think the battery is a solar panel and run for days like I did in that video. And the advantage of these LifePo batteries is that they're very light. So you can haul it in your truck, keep it nice and warm, get into the cabin, get the wood stove going, get her all warmed up, pull that power system into your cabin, and boom, you just got yourself, power. And it works good. So that's kind of an advantage. And they also have foldable solar panels. I've got some I'm testing right now. I have a set of, I have one Jackery panel that I bought probably 2 years ago. And it's a 100 watt solar panel, which, by the way, you'll never get 100 watts on a Jackery 550, Go Neo 604, Blue Eddy 500. You're pretty much almost never going to get that 100 watts out of those because they restrict the amount of amps coming in on the MPPT charge controllers. It's like 3.75 is all you get. Hey, Joe Maine, good to see you, buddy. But so it's just something to point out to you. And I am working on a video where I'm going to discuss that, because a lot of people buy these smaller Jackeries or Blue Eddies or whatever, and then they get these foldable solar panels, and they don't understand why they don't get 100 watts out of them. It says it's 100 watts, but I don't get 100 watts. Well, you will. You're just not going to get 100 watts if you plug it directly into that power station, because the power station is restricting it to 3 point whatever amps. And those panels are 5 amp panels. So if your power station says you ain't going to get more than 3.75 and you're trying to stuff 5 amps into it, not going to happen. So, by the way, Joe, I was sorting out bands today. And for those that don't know, I get my bands from Joe Maine. But I don't know if you noticed that there is a link in every one of my videos now, folks. So if you're a sawmiller, you're Sawyer, and you didn't know that, that's where I get them. But I was sorting out bands today, just trying to, I've got bands coiled up all over the blooming place right now. I started going, I'm going to have to start thinking about what I'm going to do with all of my bands that I'm not milling on the road anymore. Probably never go back to the old Sawdust Road Show milling on the road for other people. Just physically, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it as much as I love doing it. But I've got all these bands, and I'm going, I probably right now have, I don't know, maybe 30 bands I need to sharpen. And with Woodmiser not doing resharp, it's kind of one of those things where I'm going, I personally am not really that interested in sharpening bands, simply because it just doesn't make sense to me. I got so much that I'm doing. Here I am talking to you guys about solar power and off-grid cabins and building cabins and going fishing and building a canoe trailer and off-roading in my Jeep. And you wonder why I don't sharpen my own bands. But I almost feel like there should just be like a band recycling service where you just take the old bands, you're just not going to resharpen them. You don't feel like sending them off to somebody, and you get like $5 or $10 a band for them or something, right? Like somebody else could get 3 resharpenings or more out of those. They get 5 or 6 maybe out of them. And it could be worth $5 or $10 to somebody. So, I'm like, well, I don't know. If I could sell them for $5 a band, I might do that. Something to think about. I don't know. I don't know if anybody out there has ever thought about it, but I know a lot of guys that are storing up bands, and They just didn't resharpen them. They were thinking about it. They never got around to it. I think Michael's got a bunch laying around. And resharpened bands are great, right? I used them all the time. That's what I did. I kept enough bands so that I could rotate my bands. And I'll be honest, when Woodmiser got really, really slow, yeah, I bought a bunch more bands then, but that was so that I had enough. I must have, I don't even know, I've probably got over 100 bands now. And it was so that I could send 15 off. And then if I didn't get them back yet, I could send 15 more off, and so on. So anyway, that I just thought I'd bring that up because I was going through bands. And by the way, I say that I never do shorts, but I actually tossed a short out today. I've decided that if I do those shorts anymore, they're probably going to be like today's. It's not a video I'm doing. I don't plan on doing a video because I've done one before, or several before. Those are mostly members only videos now. But I've done some videos on doing epoxy resin, and I just happened to finish a seal coat. And what's really funny is I forgot to put on there that it's the last seal coat. I started getting comments on the short. You're going to have to sand that down a lot. Well, no, I'm not, but it's a seal coat, so I don't really care if it's got dimples and lines. And if you've never done epoxy resin, that's just the way it works, right? When you do a seal coat, you're not trying to make it look glassy smooth yet, although it was pretty glassy smooth because that's the 4th seal coat. But you're just trying to make sure that there are no pinholes, no cracks, nothing that the epoxy will drain through, that you've sealed up the wood as much as you possibly can. And once you've made that final step, which I just did, then you can flood coat, pour it, and you'll be done. And that flood coat may not happen until the fall. And there's a couple things that we were surprised by. One was the dust. So I did my coffee table, and there's a video out there for you guys if you're interested. But I did my coffee table in my wood shop that you would think would have a lot of dust, right? I mean, you plain wood, sand wood, cut wood, it's dust everywhere. I didn't get any dust in the surface of my coffee table, but I think it's because I've got that Wen dust air handler. It's an air cleaner, right? Well, I've got a second one, and we're actually going to have to bring that into the house and put it in the kitchen and run that air handler for a while. And at the same time, shut our air conditioning completely off, shut the fans off, turn everything off, and run that dust collector probably for a couple days before we do the flood coat pour. And so we're going to need to wait till the fall because we're finally getting into summer here. I mean, it's normally this time of year, it's well over 100 degrees already, right? Like June 1st, if it's not 100 degrees by June 1st, I'm shocked. Well, guess what? Today's the 2nd, and it was raining today and about 60 degrees. So it's supposed to get 90 on Friday, I think, though. So we're going to finally almost get up there. But we'll see, 80 to 100 plus between now and September, right? I mean, it's just not good weather to not have your air conditioning on. So we're looking at the fall. But anyway, that little short that I put out, it's just, I thought I would just share that, throw that out, let you guys know what I was up to. 3 boxes of dull bands. I agree. Don't want to deal with sharpening them. Right? How about if somebody were to give you $5 a band, right? I mean, that's 45 bands times $5. Turn that around, buy more bands. All right. Any questions, folks? Let's see. We're at just over an hour. I normally can go 2+ hours. I was debating how long I'd go tonight, but I'm here to answer your questions. So it's going to be dependent on you. You've got questions for me, I'm going to answer them. If you don't, well, we'll probably cut it short tonight. And I'm not saying I want to, but I just figure I'm here to answer questions primarily. So I'm hoping you've got some. And Michael, did I answer that question on the batteries for you? Was that what you're looking for? And John, on the end of the muffler, no spark arrestor. I think I answered that, but I thought maybe you asked it again. And no, I don't think so. Just a pipe. Maybe the 40 is different than a 35, or maybe yours is newer than mine. Mine's a 16. Well, end of 15. Oh, hey, America Silver Patriot. Nice to see you. Welcome. I'm not sure I've seen you in one of my lives before, so I'm glad you joined us. And hey, if you got any questions, I was just telling everybody it's time to start asking them because I'm running out of questions to answer. So, and Silver Patriot, I gotta go look at your channel because I'm wondering if you've got a channel. I don't always see the channels that people have, but I'm a silver bug. So when I see something like that, I think, and silver's almost 31 bucks an ounce right now. Isn't that crazy? I saw gold was above 24, I think, what, about a week ago or so, 24.30 something. It was crazy. So anyway, welcome. Glad you're here. And ask questions away. As for bands, I don't know. John, you're resharpening yours, aren't you? I know Rick and Tim are. I think Dave, old man of the saw, I think he's doing his now. Steve Bailey, I think he's resharpening his. Jason Hamlow, Northwest Sawyer, I don't believe he is. I've seen a lot of bands laying around his shop. $5 a band sold. There you go. See, hey, Joe Maine, maybe you could find somebody that just wants to buy used bands. They resharpen them and sell them for 15 bucks, not 50, 15 bucks, right? Or 20 bucks or something, half price, half the new price. Boom. They could buy bands for $5, resharpen them and sell them for 20. I think that's golden right there, because I don't feel like resharpening mine. All right, batteries, small power. Oh, speaking of small power systems, I've been playing with something, and I don't think it would be worth doing a video on. At first, I thought I could, but honestly, I thought, I'll probably just talk about it on lives, maybe do a super short or something. But one of my friends came to me and he said, well, I was thinking about getting a power system, but I don't really need the 120 volt. I really just need it to charge up my phone. I could maybe run a little small refrigerator off of it, which only needs 12 volt. Like, how would you do that? Honestly, what I would do is you go to Amazon and you buy, or your preferred place to buy, because some people don't go to Amazon, and I understand, but you buy a marine battery box with USB and cigarette lighter port on the side, because they make those. I have one for my trawling motor. The battery box, it's like a plastic box. You put the battery in it, you hook it up to the box, and on the top of the box goes on, straps on to the above the battery, and it's kind of a waterproof. I wouldn't like drop it in the water, but it's a pretty good protection from open water splashing over your battery. It's got some breakers in it, and then it's got a USB port, a couple terminals on top, and a cigarette lighter port as well. And you can even get them with inverters, though I have seen the ones with inverters kind of appear to be not very good. I've seen some issues with some of them with inverters. So, but you could get one of those, stick one of these 100 amp hour batteries in it. Boom, you got 12 volt connections anywhere you want to go, and tons of 12 volt power. And if you got one of these solar panels and a little MPPT controller, which I just got, you could charge it back up too. Excuse me. You can drain them with damage. No, you can drain lead batteries with damaging them, but you must have meant without damage. Oh, you know what? You did. I see it now. The funny thing is, if you do lives, YouTube puts this little thing on the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and it's like a heart thing. And if you hover the mouse over to it and you click on it, it will shoot out a silly thing. And I'm sure that the kids love those things, but for me, it means I don't get to read something that you type. So it looked like with, hey, John's still awake. Either that or he was having a little evening beverage or something. But yeah, now I see it's without. Yeah, absolutely. And they're light, 4 times lighter. So, but yeah, if you got one of those battery boxes, you'd have a 12 volt connection. You could run a refrigerator, charge your cell phones up, run lights, whatever. The other thing you could do, if you're really looking for a power system on the cheap, folks, you could get one of those marine battery boxes, and you could mount a small inverter right on top of it or right on the side of it. You could probably literally, especially with this little battery, I posted a link in the chat earlier. You could put that little battery in one of these boxes, and you could put an inverter right on the side of the box and hook it up so that now you've got a 12-volt connection and a 120 volt, and you could probably get like a little 500 watt or 1,000 watt pure sine wave inverter, and you just built yourself a power station for a heck of a lot less, right? I mean, if you did it with this little battery, it's like $250 for the battery, $65 for the battery box to put it in. So what are we at? $315 now, and then find an inverter. But now you're getting close to the well, you're not, because like the Jackery 550 is $500, but it's only 550 watt hours. Whereas a 12-volt, 100-amp-hour lithium battery is 1,280 watt hours. So it's more than double the size, right? Great part is you can customize tooth angle. Yeah, so if you're going to resharpen your sawmill bands and you have the hobby, that's kind of like, now, John, I know you make a living running your sawmill, but for me personally, if I had to resharpen my own, if Joe Maine said, I'm not selling bands anymore, God forbid, then I would be, if I had to sharpen my own bands, then I'd call Joe Maine, by the way, and get sharpening equipment from Joe. But I would just get the simplest, easiest. I would go 7 degrees and just go, and same set every time, every band. I'd get rid of all of my 4s, 9s, 10s, 739s, 747s, and I would just go with probably 7-degree standards, so I didn't have to mess around. And because then it would be easy and faster, and I wouldn't. So I'm not going to mess around. It's like chainsaws, right? If you watch Buck and Billy Ray, he's always making these new profiles, and he's got this great profile. You know, if you've watched his videos, something, well, even his motto is something like it's in the gullet or something, but he cuts his chains his way. And I mean, obviously it works, but for me, I'm going to pull a saw out in the field and try not to get my saw to cut sideways and throw tune up the chain a little bit and throw her into the wood again. I'm not going to mess around. But that's because, like I said earlier, that's his hobby, right? That's all he does. Buck and Billy Ray, he's all about axes and chainsaws. I mean, he plays the drums and stuff, but that's his big deal, right? I've got too many other things I want to do. And if I were to, every time I add something new, I run out of time to do the things I want to do. So that's why I don't sharpen bands. On my sawmill, I do my own maintenance. And by the way, somebody asked me a question about maintenance, and if you're here tonight, I'll answer it, or if anybody else wants to know about it. But he asked me about day-to-day maintenance. But anyway, I do my own maintenance, and as long as I can. But when I had hydraulic pump problems and I couldn't figure it out, I took the dang pump to somebody else. And when it was clear that it was the motor, I had them replace the motor. I got the motor, had them replace it, and I still haven't finished rebuilding mine because I don't have time. I've got my shop I still got to finish building. I got tables I got so much going on that adding in trying to build a new profile for my chainsaw chains, let alone sharpening them, or doing my own bands, sharpening them, I haven't got time for it. I'll never go fishing. And that's what I was mentioning earlier. I'm going fishing, folks. I don't know. Drop it in the chat. Let me know who out there likes to go fishing and what you fish for. Personally, my favorite are rainbows and cutthroats. I love small mountain lakes that are quiet. The mist is just coming off the water, and you slip the canoe out into the water and paddle out into the lake somewhere where there ain't anybody else, and you start throwing a line in the water. And I don't typically bait fish. I used to. If I was really in need of catching some trout, I'd probably do that midday when they're not feeding as much and they're down in the colder water. But in the morning or in the evening, I'm either going to be spin casting or I'm working on fly fishing now, though I have trouble with my arms, so I can't always, fly fish the way you're supposed to, other than trail a fly behind me or something. But so drop it in the chat. Let me know. Do any of you guys go fishing? I'm going fishing this year. and I'm doing some camping, and I don't even know when, because frankly, just the out here, July and August are not times to go camping. They really aren't. Not anywhere near where I live, because I live in the desert and it gets hot. It'll be 100 degrees soon. And I don't like camping in 100 degrees or 100 plus degrees. I can go into the mountains, but they're quite a ways away. The closest place to camp that's kind of in the mountains, you're up about 3,000 feet. And if it's 100 degrees here, it might be 80, 85 there. So you're pushing it. So I need to get, like, even at the cabin, at my cabin in July and August, it can hit 95. I've even seen it hit 100 degrees at the cabin. And I got to be honest with you, when it hits 100 degrees at the cabin, and Michael, you know what I'm talking about, it's downright scary. I don't like it. We used to say, honest to God, if somebody farts out here, they're going to start a forest fire. I mean, that's how bad it gets. It is dry as a bone and hot, and you are just worried. And you don't mow when it's that hot. Like, if you didn't get out and mow your fields, if, like, right now I've got a PTO issue on my tractor, I'm certain that the bloody mice chewed the wiring somewhere. It's happened before, and my PTO is not working. And if I can't get that PTO fixed within the next 2 to 5 weeks, then I will not be mowing, because you do not go out there and mow when it's super dry and 100 plus degrees out, because you're going to hit a rock, throw a spark, and light the whole field on fire. So it's crazy. I think Michael went to sleep on us now. Oh, wait, here we go. I'm going to make that a video, laugh out loud, how I save time by sharpening my own bands. Do it. But I got to tell you, to save time, you've got to make it faster than I can put my bands in a box and drop them off at the UPS store. And trust me, I'll probably go by the UPS store anyway, so that's not a time thing. It'll be the time it takes me to walk from my Jeep into the store and drop them off, and the time it takes me to put them into the box and tape the box up. So I don't think you can do 15 bands faster than that, but I want to see it. Mike, let's see. I went fishing. Wait. So what gives, Michael? You are out fishing when I'm just talking about it. I think something's wrong with that picture. Now, what I want to know is where you went fishing, and is a good place to go camping so I can come down and check it out. That might be our collaboration video. How many people want to say me and Michael Wilson go fishing? A logger and an old jarhead trying to keep a canoe upright in the water. After they walk into REI, do they even sell fishing gear at REI? You were fishing today? You guys suck. I don't, you know what? I'm about 30 minutes from where I think there's some smallmouth and largemouth. I haven't fished there, and I've never done a lot of time fishing for bass. In fact, I think the last time I tried to fish for bass was in the late 80s in North Carolina, and I wasn't successful then. It's different than trout. And, trout, especially if you catch them right, they're super, super aggressive. And, man, I'm telling you, if you catch trout right, oh man, it's game on, and you can start latching onto them left and right. They're not always that easy to pull in. And if you do what I do, I use really light tackle and a light rod. I think I developed that because I took my kids fishing. So I had these little fishing poles, 4-pound test and, 2-pound leaders on them. And I throw the drag on them so they could have fun fighting a 6-inch rainbow. And I found that, I pulled in some big rainbows on those little rods. And it was a blast, right? Because it's you catch a good sized rainbow on one of those rods, and all you hear is that, your drag is going to town, and so you're reeling as hard as you can, and he's going in the other direction, and you're in a fight. I fought a big old rainbow one day for about 15 minutes, which ain't nothing, if you're out fighting tuna or a big salmon or something. But he probably was a 16-inch rainbow. And it was about a 15-minute battle, and I couldn't get him on shore because he was working so hard to get away from me, and I didn't bother to change my drag, and I just backed up and dragged him up on shore. So favorite fishing is red band trout in high desert streams. Oh, wouldn't that be fun? You know, we don't have streams around here that I'm aware of that have trout. We have got rivers. I mean, we got the Columbia right here. I don't know the Columbia, and I wouldn't take my canoe out there. I've heard some stories about people taking kayaks and canoes out there and not going in groups, and then having trouble and getting caught in the current and ending up downstream. But my favorite fishing is mountain lakes. So, all right, last chance for questions, folks. I am going to cut this off in 8 minutes. So 8 minutes. Any other questions on sawmilling, forest clearing, cabin building, off-grid stuff, you name it, ask away. I'm happy to answer them. That's what I'm here for. We're not just here to talk about fishing, although I want to go fishing. And my buddy and I have agreed to escape Sunday the 9th in the morning. We're scooting out. I'm not sure if we're going to go to hunt some rainbows or if we're going to go try the reservoir that's nearby that's mostly bass, and I think they've got some cat and some crappies in there, but I don't think they have any rainbows. Lost Creek Lake, good fishing sometimes, but lousy place to go in the summer. Oh yeah. See, I'm not interested in being anywhere fishing in 100-degree weather. If I were to go to a place like that, it would have to have hookups for my RV so I could run my air conditioning in my camper. And you know, that's the funny thing, folks. I grew up in British Columbia. The idea of camping with air conditioning would be such a foreign thing to me that I couldn't even fathom why you would need air conditioning when you went camping. Now, I was born in Oregon and raised in British Columbia. In fact, some guys have noted accents every once in a while. They'll hear me say a once in a while, or process and progress. But you know, I grew up in BC, and summers, you know, 70s, maybe low 80s. You could go camping, and if it's in the low 80s, you can survive that during the day because it's gonna be cool at night. And we didn't even have air conditioning in cars. We didn't have air conditioning in houses. The only people that had air conditioning when I grew up were rich people, folks. You know, some guy with a Delta 88 or something, you know, or a big Lincoln. They might have air conditioning in their car, and they might have had air conditioning in their house. Mostly, we never did. There just wasn't a need for it. It would have been an expense that made no sense. And we didn't have a lot of money, so we weren't going to waste money on things that we didn't need. So now here I am living in an area that can get, I mean, when I first moved here, where I am now in southern, I'm in southeastern Washington. And when I first moved here, that first summer in June, we had 9 days above 100 degrees. And that was in 2003, June of 2003. 9 days, early June, above 100 degrees. 9 days in a row. Not 9 days separate, 9 days in a row. And I remember when I moved here, I started going, where the heck did I move to? This is the Northwest. How do you have a place with 9 days in a row in the triple digits? Like, what the heck? Fortunately, we haven't had that much weather like that. We do get a lot of hot weather, but it's been cooler the last several years, right? I've noticed, like right now, I mean, I don't know what the temperature is today, but when my kids graduated on the 1st of June, it was my first daughter graduated. It was 105 out. It's 62 degrees and still raining right now. So, you know, but Joe Maine. Guys, I got to tell you this. He's shy. Joe, I think Joe's kind of shy, right? Because he sends me this. Joe, I'm diming you out, Joe. That's bluegill. Oh my good Lord. He sends me a picture of bluegill on ice. I'm jealous. Like, holy smokes. I don't know. I'll go like this. I'm like, come on, Joe. I haven't had bluegill since the late 80s in North Carolina. I left North Carolina in 91 when I got out of the Marine Corps after Desert Storm. So, all right, just got 4 more minutes. We still got at least 6 or 8 of you out there. So I still haven't seen a lot of comments from the rest of you. Like America Silver Patriot, you popped in and said hi, but I don't know if you left or went to sleep. But I don't know who else is out there. But again, you got a few more minutes. If you got a question about anything on my channel, about YouTube, about me, anything you want to know, ask away. That's why I do these. I'm no open book. So, if you want to know, how long it took me to get monetized, I'll tell you. Whatever you want to know, I'm happy to tell you. And by the way, for me to get monetized took a very, very long time. I could tell you how to get monetized a heck of a lot faster than I did. So, and if you don't know, back then you had to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours to get monetized. So, and being monetized just means that you get a cut of the commercials on your videos, right? So YouTube puts commercials on pretty much all videos today. I think you can turn them off, but I think it still shows some commercials. I think it shows like an opening commercial and an ending or something like that. You can turn the commercials off and not monetize a video, but if you leave it alone, YouTube they'll put commercials throughout your videos, and you'll get a few cents of that, right? You're not going to get a whole lot. I'll tell you that. YouTube doesn't pay real well, but it does all right. You can make a few bucks, but if you've got that 1,000, and now it's 500, I think, 500 subscribers and 3,000 hours, or 10 million. 1,000 subscribers and 10 million views on shorts in 90 days or something like that. So meet you in Palatka, Florida, the St. Johns Rivers. I can put you on them. Joe, that's like 4,000 miles from me, buddy. I'll tell you what, you come out here and I'll put you on some rainbows. Actually, I would do Florida. The South is great in the wintertime, right? Spring, early spring, late fall, the winter. That's a great time to be in the South. I did quite a bit of fishing but man, in the summer, when it's like 100,000% humidity and 100 degrees out, and that's the way. Look, I grew up in the Northwest. You don't need to put your air conditioning on when it's raining. When I was in North Carolina and it was raining to beat all hell, I had to put my air conditioning on so I could see, because my windows fogged up, because it was also like 100 degrees out. Well, probably 95. So it's raining, 95 degrees, and 100% humidity. And I don't mean 100% like here when it's raining, right? No, I mean the air is as thick as a pillow can be. So, all right. Well, folks, I think I'm going to call it quits for the night. But I do answer everything. If you put a question in any of my videos, make a comment, say hi. I always respond. And if I put out another chat in a couple weeks or something, probably not a couple weeks, probably about 3 weeks, I always try to answer every question in chat. So if you put a question in chat, I will do my darndest to answer it. And if I don't know the answer, I'll try to get you the answer. I'll get someone like Michael to answer, because he knows everything, because he's a lumberjack and he's okay. Good night, everybody. The Old Jarhead out.